He looked at me and he looked at my mom and he's like, I'm making this decision for you. He said, she hasn't given up and you can't either. When I tried her, I felt an instant connection. The first time I jumped her, I jumped bigger than I've ever jumped in my life, so I immediately was totally in love. And I pretty much did everything with her. I did junior jumpers, young riders, and she taught me everything. And actually, when we went to Devon and jumped the Grand Prix, that was only my second Grand Prix that I ever done on her. It was the night of my life. I remember thinking I was riding around in the warm-up ring with McLean and everybody else. I'm like, why am I in this class? This seems silly. Like, it's like a dream come true. She has a very funny personality. She's kind of like my grandmother. She's very stern. She always takes care of you, but she's not cuddly or anything. But deep down, she's the most loving, kind horse you've ever met. The first day I had her in my stable, she colicked. She had a nephrosplenic entrapment. The options were either surgery, which we really didn't want to do on a brand new horse that we just bought, or they can roll them. It's a little bit like the colic. They hoist them up and they roll them back and forth to try to get, it's a little bit sketchy, but they try to get it back to its normal place without having to do surgery. We opted to do that. It did not work. And we're like, what happened? We just bought this horse. Actually, the colic fixed itself over about 10 days. It went back. We just hydrated her, but we still had the lameness issue. Originally, they thought she'd broken her pelvis. And we were like, that can't happen. That's not what's supposed to happen. That she just kind of tore the muscles in her hind end from being rolled. 5 months I owned her, I never rode her. And then for about 3 years, it was pretty uneventful. Coming back from Calgary, 2016, in the trailer, she colicked really badly. And again, it was the entrapment. We tried what we usually did. The lunging didn't work. The fluids didn't work. So our only option was to do the surgery. She spent about 6 days in the hospital. She came home, she was doing really well. 2 months later, she colicked again. I wasn't going to put her through another surgery. She was 16 years old. I felt like that was very selfish for me to do that for me. Pretty much made the decision. I told them to put her down because I didn't feel like what we were doing was for her. Our vet, Dr. Ladsquires, who's a longtime friend, he looked at me and he looked at my mom and he's like, I'm making this decision for you. He said, she hasn't given up and you can't either. I was totally distraught. I couldn't even go up there with her. I just couldn't do it. And the only thing they could do to actually save her was a colon resection. They took out 90% of her colon, which is about 200 pounds. They say about 40% survived the surgery and about 45% survived the recovery. And in typical Wonder Horse fashion, she woke up and was completely fine. She eats now as much hay as she wants. Ever since the surgery, I feel like she's been a lot more comfortable. I think whatever was happening was bothering her for a really long time. She was my top horse forever. And when she got hurt, I didn't really have any top horses to jump the big classes, so it really put me back a little bit. I did a first class and I was like totally ecstatic. The next day she was very lame, very lame. Nobody could really pinpoint what was wrong, so I just said, you know what, she's done enough. So I retired her, I brought her back to the farm in Colorado. I just wanted her to have a comfortable, happy life because I feel like what she did for me, she didn't need to do anything else for me. You know, when she was at home, she was really depressed. She was so unhappy. She was like pacing the fence. She was like, I am not a pasture horse, put me back in the barn. I don't know what to do with her. And he found that there was mild to moderate arthritis in the one hip. Injected it and she's been 100% sound ever since. After that, we just kind of held our breath and we said, well, she wants to do it. We're going to try to give her all the options to do it. She's the best horse I'll ever ride, and I know I'll never have a horse like that again in my lifetime, ever. I know it's sad, but it's true, absolutely true. If I have one horse like that in my lifetime, I'm already lucky. You know, she just gives me everything, and I just love every minute I get to ride her.